All right. Welcome back, everyone, to Valley Prime. I'm your host, Luke Slifkoff. And in this segment, we have the honor of a really well-respected realtor in our community, Mr. Don Scordino from Realty Concepts. Don, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you very much, Luke.
All right.
I'm excited about this.
Good. Don is a very well-respected realtor in the community, and he has brought many years of experience with him. So to talk about something that's very passionate and very dear to his heart, and that is?
Protecting the equity in a home.
Okay.
And I have a personal reason why that's one of my passions.
All right.
My family they did lose some property through condemnation many years ago,
Okay.
and it meant a lot to my uncle because he had property taken away from him during World War II in Italy. And so when it happened again, he was devastated. And I saw that. And about the same time, my mom got a foreclosure notice on our home when I was a kid, and I know what that was like to go through. But she taught us some good lessons.
All right.
She bailed it out. She got a second job. She borrowed a little money from an uncle, and she showed us what it's like not to quit. And so that is one of my passions, is protecting your property.
Okay. That's a good story. You know what? And it kind of goes with, I went to a luncheon today, and we talked about successful thinking and empowering people and not giving up and having that spirit and that will to continue. And that human spirit that just goes like she did, that was amazing.
Yeah, it was a great lesson to teach her kids.
So what kind of things can you do? You know, if we fast forward a little bit to today, what can you tell our people out there?
Well, rather than fast forward, we only have to look backwards at what happened 10 years ago.
Oh.
10 years ago, and it's starting to happen again because equity has grown, and just like you were talking about in the first segment, where there's commercials about, hey, use your home equity, pay off your credit cards, buy that boat, take the big vacation. But don't forget, you're paying for that on 30 years, and it...
but doesn't that sound like a good deal? I mean,
why
should I go buy a motorhome and pay $1,000 a month? I could put it on my home loan, and just pay $100 a month.
Yeah, sounds great, except that $100 a month is going to go for 30 years, not for the short term.
Exactly.
And what if you got, something happened, like you lost your job or you got cut back in hours? Now you've mortgaged your home. That's got to be your number one place.
You need a place to live.
Yeah, you do. And that's the mistake that was made so badly 10 years ago. And many lenders were pushing it, and especially online. And keep in mind that 10, 15 years ago, that was our country's first go-around with online commerce.
Yeah,
the real estate industry did not have online commerce back in the 80s or the 90s. All of a sudden, the 2000s come, and people were refinancing online because they thought they could save money. But they didn't have the local person to sit in front of the desk and advise them.
I think it almost came to a point where you could almost buy a house sight unseen from an online company. That I think was coming if this crash didn't happen.
Yeah. I had somebody from Kentucky wanted to buy a home, and they said, well, I've seen the pictures online.
I almost like to say Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Hey, it is dinner time. No, you shouldn't make me hungry.
I'm sorry about that. All right, Kentucky.
And they were ready. They wanted to buy the home online. When they actually came out here and they saw that the home wasn't in as great a condition as those 10 pictures showed, well, and I told them, those pictures online are advertisements. They're not disclosures.
Yeah.
They ended up not buying the home. And it was a wise move for them because it was a bit of a fixer, and that's not what they were in the market for.
TLC, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that in mind, let's take a look at that first slide there with the two pie charts there. And what are we looking at? So the other one, Billy.
The other one, yeah. Back in 2008, 2009, and 2010, the Fresno Association of Realtors had the question about where did all these foreclosures come from? So we did a survey, and we found out that 54% of the foreclosures were from refinancing, not from purchasing a home. So I think our industry got a bad rap because they said, oh, people were buying way too much home. But that was, more than half the foreclosures were from careless refinancing.
I got to share something with you. I went to our local title company, and this is probably, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago. And I had them pull a report in Clovis, and I said, show me how many homes in Clovis have not refinanced since, I think it was like 1998 to 2005. And I said, who has not refinanced? 4 homes.
Wow.
4 homes in a 6 or 7 year span in Clovis had not refinanced. Everybody else refinanced. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was almost epidemic. The other thing we found is that the amount of times that those people who lost their home in foreclosure did refinance was 2.1 times. So they didn't just do it once, they did it twice. And if you go to that second chart, that's where we carve up. You see the 51% there are cash out refinances. That's where they refied and used up their equity and pulled it out and paid off, maybe bought a boat, took a vacation. The 3%, which is not very much at all, were refinances, but those were the ones who just refinanced to get a better rate and term. Now, here's something very interesting. If you look at the blue ones there.
The dark blue or the light blue?
Well, let's look at the light blue first.
All right.
18% of the foreclosures were we found the home in our multiple listing service, which means they had professional representation.
Okay.
But that bigger portion there, the 28%, were people that bought through private parties or without professional representation. So if you think about it, let's say we were to go back in time and change the scenarios and people dealt with across the table with professional representation. For example, a local loan officer, a local realtor.
Okay.
If we only had 18% of those foreclosures, we would not have had a foreclosure crisis.
No.
Our prices wouldn't have, our equities wouldn't have plummeted.
So many times when people get into real estate, and correct me if I'm wrong,
I will.
they all of a sudden become instant, it's a funny industry. Like, if you go to get a heart operation, you don't tell the surgeon how to operate. If you go fly in an airplane, you don't tell the pilot how to fly the plane. However, I don't understand this, but in real estate, as soon as they go in a transaction, my uncle knows this, they become an instant loan officer, they become instant real estate expert. I don't know how it happens, but that crown just pops out of nowhere.
Yeah. And that's
it's unfortunate.
That's the one I hear sometimes is, I had a license 20 years ago, so I know what I'm talking about. And they may remember some of the terms, but every market is different. Every era is different.
It is.
And so you need to get the professional help of someone who's working full-time and in it locally.
Absolutely. Full-time. Did you hear what he said? Full-time.
I also said locally.
And locally, yes. So, because real estate is local, lending may be a little bit more continental. We can move money here and there with a push of a button, but realistically, real estate is something tangible. People got to see it and what they want to do with it. Touch it, feel it, appreciate it. Any other closing words here while we're talking about foreclosures and all that?
Sure. Looking way back again, I'm still going to say buy real estate, because I look back at, I passed up an opportunity to buy a beautiful home for $42,000 many, many years ago. That property's probably worth $400,000 now. So the way to protect your equity is to also buy some.
Yes,
you can't protect it if you don't have it.
Yep. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to come back with Don Scordino just after this break. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back, everyone, to Valley Prime. And I've got Don Scordino here from Realty Concepts, one of the premier real estate companies in our valley, talking to you today about our trends, I think, and what's been going on in our marketplace, so that you can better understand what your house is worth and what your neighborhood's trends are doing. So, Don, take it away. What are we talking about?
Well, sometimes people ask me, how's the real estate market doing today? And my honest opinion is we're almost back to normal. But we haven't been normal for 14 years, so it's hard to remember what that was, because we had the big boom in the early 2000s, then we had the big downward spiral, and now the last couple, 3 years, we've been recovering.
Yep.
And price-wise, I'll give you an example.
Yep.
In 2012, for the median home price for the first 3 quarters of the year in Fresno County was right at $173,000.
In what year? 2000?
2012, and I said I gave you the wrong year or the wrong amount. It was 147,000.
Okay.
In 2013, it rose to 173,000, about a 15% rise.
30,000 or so, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, for the first 3 quarters of 2014, it's risen about 13%, up to 200,000. So you could see how our equities are solidifying. Now, somebody might say, well, gosh, prices are going way up. But don't forget, we were there before. Prices were there before. They were, I believe, artificially dropped when the banks started unloading a lot of foreclosures. And they didn't sell anything in very good condition. And, and condition means a lot to price.
It does. How many people come and they say, my house is better than their house? I keep mine immaculate. I have granite counters, and they just got, that old stuff over there, right? That's what clients always. Yeah.
Almost everybody.
Yeah. It's just like cars, people. You go buy a car, and you trade in your car, and you think your used car is worth this, and their new car is worth this, but it's really the opposite, right?
Oh yeah. And the best way to get a valuation on your home in the current market is have somebody who can walk inside the home, meaning a local realtor, give you that valuation. People say, well, I went online and went click, and I found my value. It's not that easy, because when you go click, they don't know the condition of your home, and that could be a 10 to 20% swing in value right there. They don't know if you have an old roof or a new roof.
Yeah.
They just have about 8 to 10 basic numbers that they get off county records.
And sometimes a highway or a dividing road makes a big difference in value. But the click doesn't know the difference. It just says within a certain square mile or quarter mile or whatever.
Right.
But it could, if we're south of Herndon, north of Herndon, as an example, that could make a huge difference in value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a client ask me, well, how can you do a better job than the computer model? Because I can walk inside your home and see it.
Now, Don, with the values appreciating, are they still on that trend right now?
Yeah, but I see it normalizing a little bit, and that's why I say we're getting back to normal.
Now, what does that mean?
Well, what made prices rise the last couple of years is that there were more buyers than there were sellers. That is getting a little bit more in balance. You don't see the multiple offers that we saw 2 years ago as much. You still see them.
Not as much.
Not as much, yeah. So the great part is that a buyer can negotiate without feeling the heat of somebody's footsteps.
Interesting. One quick thought is when we look at prices, traditionally I think they rise about, in real estate, 3 to 4% a year is probably a normal, healthy market.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay. All right. And I think we're going to that, slowly. But Fresno's a little bit more dynamic.
Yeah. Right. Well, and that's because we have a lot more room to grow, because 10 years ago, we were growing at about 25% a year, which is way off that 3 to 4.
Yeah.
Then we dropped about 20% a year, and that was...
For a couple of years.
Yeah, that was really hard. And then you see the last couple of years, 15 and 13, and I would really suspect this year it'll be under 10%, which is getting closer to normal.
Right. Now, when somebody wants to sell their home, what do you recommend? How should they prepare their home for a realtor to come in and do an assessment, for an appraisal to be done, for people to be walking in and previewing the home? What should they do? Is there any good steps? Sure.
I think step number 1, contact the realtor that you're going to use and have the realtor give their take on what's important to a potential buyer. I had a lady today say, well, I don't understand why people can't visualize a home without all our stuff in it, and because she can't. I said, well, that's very good, but there are a lot of buyers that can't. This is 20, 30 years ago, I don't think I could. Now, I've gotten to the point now in my career where I can visualize things a little better, but I was one of those buyers too, where
A lot of clutter.
I couldn't see past it.
That's true. That's very true. All right, Don. Now, you've got a couple listings that you'd like to showcase for us here. The first one is in Mountain View. What is that address there?
Well, the address on that is 17201 North Mountain View, and that one is in the Rolling Hills area. Rolling Hills is just north of Children's Hospital, across the river in Madera County. The nice part about that is that's the country. You're living out there. There's no street lights, no sidewalks.
Nice.
Yeah, it's very nice, but
Quiet.
yet you're 5 minutes from River Park. This one's got a swimming pool.
Oh,
The
yeah.
yard needs a little water, but it'll need someone to live in there and do it.
Nice. Needs a little love.
Yeah, and it's priced at $290,000. Then we have another one here. This one is in Northwest Fresno at 6142 North Blosser, and that one's priced at $249,900. I love this house. This one, there's not a thing you could do to it that hasn't already been redone.
Oh, it looks beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Big yard. It's got a newer roof, dual pane windows, new dual pack, hardwood floors, granite countertops.
Nice landscaping.
Yeah.
Well kept.
Very well.
Somebody loved that home.
Yes. Including me, the realtor.
Yeah. So now we need somebody else to love that home. Correct?
Yes, and we'll find one.
All right,
Thanks
Don.
to this TV show.
Ah, there we go. Now, Don, you also have a little bit of a radio show as well on real
Yes,
estate.
I do.
Tell us about it.
Well, every Saturday morning for the last 6.5 years, we have had a show on, started off on Kino, and then they merged, went to 50,000 watts, and then merged again, and now it's on ESPN. So my two passions in life, real estate and sports.
There
It's
you
all
go.
comes together for me. But every Saturday from 9 to 10 on 940 a.m., and we talk real estate. And sometimes we even have lenders on the show.
Oh, my.
Talking financing. We've had home inspectors, termite inspectors, other realtors. We've even had some of our elected officials come to the show, our city councilmen,
Nice.
our state assemblymen, to talk about housing issues.
It's important. It's very important.
Yes, it is. And it's a show that I love doing. I had no radio background whatsoever. And then my first show, I think, oh my gosh, I was so nervous and scared.
You're natural. Don't worry about it. Now, if people want to get a hold of you, Don, how can they do that?
The easiest way is just call me, 490-1590, or my email address is very easy. It's just my name, Don Scordino at realtyconcepts.com.
All right, folks. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Don. It's been
Yeah,
a pleasure.
it's been fun.
We hope that you've all gotten great information on this, and we look forward to talking with you soon.